Alrighty, we're back recording your favorite podcast show of the week. This is Location Weekly, and it's episode number 501. Yes, we've crossed the threshold there, coming out of our big celebration of 500 episodes last week with a whole bunch of kind of look back and Rob joining us for the whole show and all of that. Brianna, how are you?
I'm good. It was great to go back and watch last week's episode. I like full disclosure, I don't like to watch myself, so I never go back and look at it, but this was one of those weeks that I really had to. And just hearing all of those um, you know, people that have been like friends in the industry wish us well and just talk about how this has been, helpful or impactful for them was so awesome. It was like very nostalgic. So it was like a highlight of my week for sure.
Yeah, so same for
How
me.
are
Like
you doing?
just getting all those messages from everybody and folks who've, in some cases haven't been involved with the LBMA for years. Like they were there in the early days, maybe completely moved out of the industry, like Kyle and others. It was just nice to kind of see their faces and hear their voices and kind of look back, over the years. So super fun. And here we are. We begin another 500 episodes, maybe, hopefully, and we'll see where it goes. But we've got four stories to cover today. Maybe, if time permitting, a fifth little announcement at the end about an investment that I wanted to kind of bring in. And despite all those guest interviews, little submissions last week, we even missed a couple that weren't in there that didn't make it. So we're going to throw those in this week so that you get to hear from them too. So that's it. I'll let you kick off the show.
Yeah, I really like this story. It's pretty short announcement that's coming from the out of home space, but I think this is really cool. We think so much about measurement and efficacy when it comes to media spends and campaigns and tracking foot traffic or attribution. And for out of home, when you think about billboard space, there's just not a lot of solutions that are able to sort of track the campaign management across the entire workflow as that moves throughout. And so there's a new sort of this grouping of it's Circle Graphics and Pop Tracker teams, and they have teamed up and they are delivering what they're calling Full Circle. So think of this as a platform, a campaign tracker for out of home. So for billboard installation, for example. So they track everything from the creative to any type of logistics to the installation. And you can track it across like the process for each installation. So, a lot of times billboards are rolling out on a national basis and you need to see when there's problems and maybe delays, and that might not be affecting all of your billboards, right? But it would be affecting different campaigns. And there's obviously a lot of agencies that focus on this as well. So for them, being able to track the multiple campaigns across lots of clients, I'm sure is really helpful. So, to me, this isn't really groundbreaking, but it's something that's so basic that maybe has been overlooked for a very long time. But obviously, there's a need in the space to be able to manage the logistics and be able to handle the challenges and address them very quickly when it's something that you're paying to be there for 30 days or 90 days. And so each of those days is really important to your ROI and the metrics that you're trying to achieve, tied to those KPIs. So I think this is good. Like, it's interesting that there hasn't been a solution like this already, but I think it's great that they're pulling in all of this data across this one platform where it can be easily seen and managed. So good stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good comprehensive solution. I think that, obviously we've seen folks using mobile and location data on sort of measuring the traffic that comes near the billboard or that aspect of it in terms of, attribution from that point of view in terms of eyeballs or vehicles that pass or, what have you, but kind of putting it all together from the creative side to the campaign management and the sort of, measurement piece on the other side into a single platform, I think is, a pretty powerful combination. And so I haven't seen it before, and I think it's really cool. And And yet at the same time it seems pretty simple, and I like simple. So like, for me it's like, we all use Microsoft Excel, but like there's a lot in there that I don't use every day, right? There's kind of the basic stuff, and I see this as kind of like, a really powerful yet simple tool to help the industry kind of knit those things together. I like it, and I like the name. I think Full Circle is a good name. So there you
I
go.
agree.
All right, on to our second story. So Walmart, with the pandemic and all that's been going on in home delivery and order online and pickup, and the whole, sort of people not being able to go into stores and all of that being driven off of COVID-19. They are now testing in Bentonville, Arkansas, where their headquarters is, a service called Home Valet. And I think this is kind of interesting. So what it is they've created these sort of temperature controlled cooler box type things that basically you put outside your house, like maybe on your front porch kind of thing. And they're set up to enable Walmart to do 24/7 delivery. So, it could be in the middle of the night while you're sleeping, and it's all, smartphone connected and all of that. And the idea is like if you order groceries, like, frozen food or fresh food or pantry items or whatever the thing might be, it can be delivered and kind of put into this box and stored securely, outside your home. And then, when you wake up, you can kind of go and retrieve the items there. And it's all, kept in the proper temperature and controlled that way. And, for me, it's like going full circle to use that, because I remember as a little kid, we didn't have this, but I knew some neighbors who had at that time still milk bottles being delivered, to a little box on their front porch. In my case, there was a company that used to do home delivery of soda pop. Like they would make their own soda pops in different flavors, and we would wait for this delivery to come. And a lot of people still in those days, like, so now I'm talking like late 60s, early 70s, would still have these, sort of, boxes at their door that, the milk could get left in, or those kinds of things. Um, and it's like, it's almost like we're going back to that now, right? Like this idea of there's a place there where things can get dropped off and left. Um, it's obviously more digital and updated, and smartphone enabled and temperature controlled and all of that. But in a lot of ways, it's like going back in time. So it's a little retro for me, which I like. And I think there's legs here. I think I can see these kinds of things taking off. It's probably, from a home building point of view, I could see builders starting to kind of jump into this area as well, as they're building new homes, where they've kind of got an area outside of the home that is accessible externally and has a cooler section and a, sort of non-cooled section for other, Amazon deliveries or whatever. And then you could, retrieve the things from inside the home perhaps, or that type of thing. I definitely see, this evolving as, we get more into, everybody doing home delivery. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's nice to be able to have one, obviously, the simple functionality of a cooler, to not have to worry about timing, like when you are getting home, or, rushing down to get stuff from the delivery person because you're working from home and you're on a work call, or whatever that might be. I think that that's a great feature, especially as, there's tons of different climates across, the world. We'll focus on the country for now, or North America, that are changing constantly. I mean, here in Atlanta today we've got like 65-degree weather, and just yesterday, it was like 30 in the 30s. So, there's a lot of like fluctuation. So to be able to control that and maintain that, I think just from a quality perspective is great. And I do agree. I think that food delivery, or just delivery in general, is going to continue to evolve, right? The seamlessness of adding things to a list, the ability to be able to price compare as you shop across different places. And I think just, being able to perhaps even like voice order, right? So everything that you can do now will be, I think we're going to continue to see that be more seamless and just much more convenient, right? But it is, a lot of things are like what's old is new again. And that is a perfect example that you gave. But it's also like, what can we do to just continue to make things, more flexible for people around their schedules? What's easier when it comes to convenience, so that we can spend the time where it matters the most instead of maybe out grocery shopping. So I like this, and I think that I'm excited to see how else we can evolve delivery and convenience options moving forward.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential here, and I see many different brands trying to jump on this. I mean, this is an obvious Amazon thing as well. So we'll see more than just Walmart sort of attack this space for sure. All right, so before we jump into our other two stories, as I said, there are a couple of little visitor interviews that didn't make it into last week's show, and we wanted to include them, so we're going to stick those in here now. So enjoy those, and then we'll be back with the rest of our stories for this week.
Asif, Fabriana, it's fantastic. Happy 500 episodes. Location-based marketing, location, wherever you are, there you is, there you be, all those things.
Jerry King, LBMA Toronto. Shout out to Asif and Aubriana. Belated Happy New Year. And more importantly, just congratulations on reaching this milestone of 500 episodes of the Location Weekly podcast. Just putting that in context, on a weekly, I mean, that's 10 years of podcasts. I mean, you guys that's Ironman marathon territory. So, congratulations. I first began doing the podcast when Asif was co-hosting with Rob Woodbridge. And from then to now, I've just watched a steady escalation, the number of views per episode. And I think that the longevity of the podcast really is a testament to your vision, to a clarity of purpose, and frankly, just to a lot of hard, disciplined work. So congratulations again, you two. If one were to geotag contextual marketing, and you were to approach that point either through the channel of an industry, so retail or finance or telecom, or you came to that point thematically, big data or privacy, the Location Weekly Archive really has become the authoritative clearinghouse for all activity information in that particular juncture. And so I would say that the podcast, alongside the Retail Local Conference, really is a key pillar of the LBMA's brand. And so in closing, I just want to wish you guys, congratulations again for what you've accomplished. I want to see, wish you continued growth in 2021, and I can't wait to see what you guys have planned in the days ahead. Cheers.
All right. So this is an interesting app, one that I wish I would have had access to several years ago, but it's called Shadow, and this is an app to help you find lost dogs. So apparently every year around 10 million pets go missing in the US, and millions of those can end up in, shelters, and they're not always reunited with their owners. So there's a lot of, challenges, whether it's just lack of identification or no microchip or whatever that might be. And they claim that they're tackling this problem by leveraging a combination of a volunteer network, and they're pairing that with AI technologies so that dog owners in particular can help kind of find and match with pictures of their dogs. So they're working in partnership with these animal shelters and rescue organizations all across the US. So they'll pull in photos of dogs that they currently are housing, and then they can supplement this with photos that they pull from social media. And then the AI technology will help to match the photograph of the missing dogs to possible matches, that are within the shelter or the web. So, this is interesting because I think there's definitely a need for it, right? We have platforms like Nextdoor, for example, which are great, if you want to post something or push something out. But a lot of times the engagement there is very low. It's only when you're looking to figure out like something very specific, like, you know, did you hear gunshots or is that fireworks? It seems to be like the ongoing conversation that's there, or about just kind of local services. And so it's not necessarily something that you are getting alerted about all the time. They're definitely pulling in some features around the ability to advertise, like, and push your promotion or push your search to the top through paid, as well as reward people for helping you find these dogs, which I think is great as well. This is interesting because this comes from the one of the founders from Zocdoc, which left, and there was a lot of chaos, with his exit. And there's also, via TechCrunch, they noted that a competitive app to Shadow was actually saying that there's no AI technology involved, and then they pulled back their statement. So there's like a lot of like drama around this, and who knew that a dog finding app could cause so much drama. But here we are. Um, Focusing on the actual app itself, I think this is wonderful. As a dog owner for 9+ years, and having a dog that was lost, that we did not find, like, I sympathize with this so much. And so I know that, like, losing that family member was just devastating, right? And we did the signs, and we did all of those things, and this app does encourage you to do other things as well, such as posting lost pet signs and things of that nature. But I think that just having some type of a way to pull these all together, assuming that this will get mass adoption, is a great thing. And nobody wants to lose a pet, so I love this idea, and I love that there's options, that are lots of options there, to help try to connect people back with the pets that may have gotten out or gotten lost.
Yeah. So on the surface, I like this. I think it hits right at a key need, a key problem, as you said. And I was kind of shocked at the number initially, like 10 million dogs or whatever. I mean, like, that's a lot. But and I like that they're working with the shelters together and kind of creating this sort of partnership, and linking it together. I guess, and this isn't a bad thing, but I think at the end of the day, what we're talking about here is facial recognition technology with AI, right? And the exact same technology essentially is what Clearview AI does, except applied to people, and looking at social media pictures and scanning those pictures and then finding those people. And many law enforcement and police organizations across North America and around the world, have been using the Clearview system to track down people and all this sort of stuff, and find those missing people, if you will. And obviously have gotten in a lot of hot water about it. I know our Toronto police force was testing it, and many others around the world. And it doesn't sit well with people from a privacy point of view, of course. But I always find it interesting when you can take the exact same thing as that, and apply it somewhere else, like finding a missing dog, and it's okay, right? Privacy doesn't matter at that point, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. Or what about the dog owners? I don't know, right? But I think I love the notion of what they're trying to do. I think it's a great application of the technology. And as you know, I'm a big proponent of using and advancing technology for good. I mean, it's just a big part of what we do. But I always find that interesting, that sort of dichotomy of, okay, like, it's okay here, but it's not okay there. And what are the rules, and how do we sort of apply those equally and evenly, and whatnot. But again, as an app serving a cause and a need, I'm all over it. I think it's great. So
Yeah, I agree with you on that point. I think that it really comes back to what the motivation is, right? So is the motivation trying to find someone who uh, you know cross the border illegally, or is the motivation trying to find like a pet that's lost, or a potentially a child who's been, abducted? I think that there's a lot of need for this type of technology there, but when it falls into the wrong hands, then it gets used for things where it is infringing on our privacy, and it is, it is Big Brother, and it is not really what we stand for, as citizens, typically, like, at least in the countries that we live in, thankfully. So I think there are a lot of nuances, and there's definitely, I think that in general, it's like, what would you want done if it was your child, or, your pet? And then what would you not want done if it was you, right? Like, you have to weigh those things equally. So it is definitely,
Yeah. I
it's
mean, if
not
my
an
kid's
easy, it's not an
missing,
easy topic, right?
yeah, if my kid's missing, I want every possible tool out there to try and find my kid, right? So, at that point, I don't really care about privacy. I care about finding my kid and getting them back as quickly as possible. So, yeah, I'm with you. It's one of those things where there's always more to it than just here are the rules and here's how we apply them, right? So, yeah. All right. Our final story for this week is kind of sticking with the idea of kind of delivery and all that sort of stuff. Verizon has teamed up with UPS. So Verizon's Skyward division and UPS Flight Forward have teamed up to really start to scale up drone delivery for products and packages. And the whole idea here is obviously UPS, one of the biggest, shipping and delivery companies on the planet, and Verizon, has really focused on growing and implementing their 5G network technology and scaling that out. The two sort of really go hand in hand, right? In order to do effective drone delivery and precise movements and controls and all of that, you really need the power of a 5G network to do that. And so the two organizations have teamed up to sort of make that happen. They've been testing for a while. So they're running this on Verizon's 5G ultra wideband network. They did in 2019 over 3,800 drone delivery flights. They've been testing this primarily in Florida last year. And they're looking to kind of sort of grow this out and expand this out further now. So I think it's very interesting. I think we're going to get more and more of this. I mean, I'm kind of of two minds of it, because I think in a dense urban market, I can see a lot of difficulty with something like this in downtown Manhattan, let's say, but in more rural areas, in third world countries, where you're trying to get stuff into the middle of nowhere, drone delivery makes perfect sense to me, right? And especially if from a mapping and addressing point of view, you link up drone delivery with something like what three words from an addressing system point of view, I think you can do a lot of really interesting things. So I expect we're going to see more and more of this across all the delivery service companies. I know even here in Canada, our national postal service is starting to experiment with some of these technologies. So I think it makes sense. And, just like the Walmart story where, getting things delivered to a cooler box in your home and, deploying smartphone tech and all that in those environments, I think, the reality is this tech's here now, and, drones are, everywhere. And so why not, sort of start to develop companies and scale up services around that? And of course, UPS and Verizon are two companies very well positioned and well funded to do that. So.
Yeah, I think that it's really interesting to think about it, in terms of, like you mentioned, both more of a, dense urban landscape versus something that's a little bit more rural or suburban. And I also think there's a lot of opportunity from not just like the last mile delivery options, but also kind of the first mile delivery options, right? So, I think that there is still a lot of opportunity in transportation of goods, that there's, for example, if if there are already, let's say, freights that are moving, within certain areas, and you just need to get, that first mile from the factory, like Amazon factory to the freight or whatever for delivery so that it can be a little bit faster. I think there's a lot of opportunity there for drones as well. So not even necessarily like the home delivery perspective, but just getting orders out very quickly to allow for faster delivery, in areas that may not be quite as accessible to that now. So I think that, I expect to see this continue to grow, and who knows? I mean, I don't know when I can't project when the first drone is coming to my house to deliver something. Do you have any guesses there?
I'm gonna put that as it's not gonna be this year, but I'm gonna put it in early 22. Drone delivery to your
Okay,
yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, all right. So that's our four core stories for this week. I did wanted to just share a little bit of industry investment news. So our friends at SOCi, that's SOCi, have closed a Series D investment round of $80 million. So congratulations to them on that. The round is led by JMI Equity, which is a growth equity firm in the enterprise software space, as well as additional investment from Ancona Capital, personal investment from SOCi's CEO and co-founder, as well as a number of others from companies like Seismic and others. So, congrats! A great, sort of injection of capital, really, start to grow the company and scale it up even further. So, yeah, excited for them. That's
Super
it.
exciting stuff. Congrats, guys.
Yeah. So that's it. That's our show for this week. You've been listening and watching episode number 501 of Location Weekly. We thank you for your time, as always. If you have story ideas, reach out to us. If you want to get involved in the LBMA, reach out to us. We're planning a number of virtual events for this year. So looking for great speakers and content for some of those things. So lots of opportunities. And of course, give us some likes, some shares, some follows, on all the social media channels. And we'll be back next week with yet another show. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.
Bye.